Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. So happy to have you with me this evening. A little bit past 9 p.m. on the East Coast, but it's Monday, which means Monday I can be a little bit later and not much. I guess for me, 9 is late now, huh? I'm getting old. Anyway, it is late today for Monday, 9 p.m. Why? Because I have an awesome Sharpe Way Show tonight. It is, by the way, number 40 of the one and only Sharpe Club. That's what it is tonight. Absolutely. And I want to talk today about something that I think a lot of you will get. I think you will like. The idea that are we as Americans becoming more radical, or are we actually becoming more like drones? Which one, or both, or neither? Maybe I'm completely wrong. And I brought together a star-studded panel of people who I'm sure will tell me that I'm completely full of shit, which I don't mind one single bit. First up, if I could bring in, she is a comedian and a wonderful person. I know her well. I've seen her more than once. Keanu Thompson, how are you?
I am well, Larry. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Of course, absolutely, yes. And we also have with us, she is a writer and an activist. The one and only, I hope I say a name right, Heidi Briones. Did I say it right?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Larry. Great to be here.
I got it. Well done. And our returning champion from last year. I've been trying to bring him back, but he's been dodging me. So I literally had to tie him down and lock him in a hotel room. Otherwise, he wouldn't do this. What I had to do, the man himself, not Dan from the web, but Dan from the internet. That is him. Yes. How are you, Dan?
You know what? I was really complaining for the longest, but then at least you got me a nice hotel room to lock me into. So it's like, you know what? There's a little give, there's a little take, but I'm happy to finally make this work.
There we go. I appreciate it very much. And please, guys, if you could, please follow these people. If you're on Twitter, you can follow Heidi at Heidi Briones. You can follow Keanu at Keanu C. Thompson. That's the cool Thompson. And you can also follow Dan on Dan from the web, all on Twitter. So I want to bring up something that I remember from the 90s. We're going back a couple years here. Those of you may be older may remember this. In the 90s, Rush Limbaugh was the absolute king of conservative talk radio. I mean, oh my God, everybody watched him on talk. I listened to him on talk radio like no tomorrow. But at that time, overseas, at that time, there was only one radio station for people stationed overseas. There was no internet, right? We couldn't go on YouTube, no Spotify, didn't exist. So a bunch of people were saying, we have to have Rush Limbaugh come on our show, on our radio show, on our station, because he's so popular. People said, no, he's political. We can't do that. And finally, they allowed the first hour of his 3-hour show to be on. And it was the first time I'd ever heard what he used to say, which was, all these liberals, they're all mind-numbed robots. He said that. I remember that. That was like a thing that people talked about. And then I would tell people, my more liberal friends, they would say, no. All you conservatives are all mind-numb robots. Like everybody was a mind-numb robot. I think we're still there from 30 years ago. I think that thought process is the same. Ken, tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Whichever side, and I will say I am not the most political person. I'm very live and let live. And if you're too far on either end, the other end thinks they're just lemmings. No, they're lemmings. They'll just run off.
Right.
Yes. So I completely agree with that. 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dan, tell me what you're thinking here. Is this a thing or no?
Yeah. As often is the case, I might be a little bit of the contrarian here. So
okay.
I like that you're asking this kind of question. I think it's important because I think a lot of people are thinking about it, and it's good to like flesh out. But I don't know if the kind of premise framing I fully agree with. To be as quick as I can, because I know I can run on a bit. And we have great guests here. I want to make sure everyone gets to speak and everything. But I do pay a lot of attention.
I'll cut you off. Don't worry about that. You talk. Good. I'll cut you.
Yes. I do pay a lot of attention to politics. I have been for, more than a decade now. I think about, the show Democracy Now! Is about 28 years old. I celebrated birthday just a couple of days after that. And so, this is a world that I've been fleshed in, living in for a while.
Right.
And Amy Goodman, you have a lot of great folks who are there. Yes. It's a really great source for information, regardless of where on the political spectrum you are. But I feel that, you know, politics gets distilled by what we see on social media and what we see on TV. And so we think there are two sides. I often argue there's really like 5 sides in America represented by 2 parties. And, you know, and it's really beautiful. I think there's, you know, it's great to come on a show with you, Larry, because you're a little bit more libertarian to my like democratic socialist. But when it comes down to the issues and not the labels, I think we agree on 75% plus of things. So that's great. And I think most of America is like that. I don't think most of America and the way we talk about politics is represented by our biggest talking heads. And so that's a blessing and a curse. I think, Keanu, you're right in that a lot of people just see it the way they're fed it. And so it's red versus blue, my side versus the other side. It could be
my team,
whatever thing. It's like, yeah, it's team sports, right? And so there's that. But deep down, and I've gotten this, thankfully, unlike a lot of pundits, I've gotten a lot of activist work before I was a pundit. I've knocked on doors before I really knew how to talk on camera. And you talk to people in your community, you have a conversation. Even though I knew they were an R or a D on the board based on how they previously voted, I could usually agree with them on something. It may not be my favorite issue, but it'll always be something. I think that's more of the case in America than you get, although we are, you know, polls show this, a lot of analysis show this, I think anecdotally shows this. We are in a more polarized red versus blue, with us or against us. They're all lemmings.
Well, hold on. Heidi is nodding her head, so I think she got something to say. Are you just thinking Dan's correct, or you got something to say?
I mean, I always have something to say. I mean, yeah.
Okay, go ahead then, please.
I think Dan hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways. I've read a lot about generational theory recently, and I wrote an article about it as well. And if you believe that we're in the 4th turning, which I do, historically,
I've heard about this. It was hold on, it's about every 80 years. Is that right? A turning is like 20, and like 80 years is a full turn or something like that.
20-ish, right? Yeah. So you can look at it as being like winter, you know, spring, summer, and fall, if you like.
It's not
so
good.
We're in winter. So full 4th turning would be winter, right?
Walking Dead are coming.
Yeah,
Winter's
and if you believe in that,
it's here. Yes.
Yeah, right. It's here, and we're in peak crisis mode. And what do people do when they're in a crisis? They become very tribal. Why? Because you want to feel like secure and safe, and you know who your people are, and you can trust them, and they can trust you. And if when shit hits the fan, you're going to know that you have somebody that has your back, right? So I think that's what we're seeing really is if you look back 80 years ago, this would be you know, pre-World War II, similar things started happening where people became more and more tribal, and there was really nothing that you could really do about it because people were going through a Great Depression. You know, they needed to know who they could trust and who they could lean on. Right. So I think we're seeing something similar, just like a modern version of that.
Well, let me touch that piece, Heidi.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
You bring up people in crisis, right? I would say something else though, too, right? And you see it often, particularly in places like the war on drugs, poverty, areas like that. Desperate people do desperate things, right? So if people are in a less desperate situation, less of them will do desperate things. The more desperate you put people in a situation, the more desperate things they'll do. So if you're cracking down on somebody's neighborhood, making sure nobody can sell anything, well, they're going to go to the black market, right? You're making them desperate. So they're going to do desperate things. So it sounds like what you're saying is not only is it tribal, but also it's going to get more desperate, meaning bad things are going to happen. Did I read into that or no?
No, I think that pretty much nails it. If you look historically, bad things will happen, you know, and then there'll be a time of prosperity and optimism and looking forward, you know, once that's over. So some kind of bad things are coming. I mean, I'm not a psychic, even though some people say I am, but I'm not. So I can't predict what those will be. But yeah, I do think that we will see some sort of civil strife, you know, it could be, or worldwide strife, or, you know, economic depression. I think that some people argue we're already have been in a recession for some time and it could become a depression. So either way, I think we're going to see some bad stuff happen, and people are going to want to know, you know, who they can depend on.
Now I'm getting scared now because I see this, right? I see the idea of us being radicals and drones, meaning a couple of radical leaders pop up and suck up all the drones, right? Yeah. And then the radical leaders use whatever is the cool thing, the cool saying of the day. I'm the whatever is the cool word, right? I should be using of the day. And I'm now going to get all my drones to go do my horrible bidding and do horrible things while I gain power and or money and or both. Keanu, tell me, make a joke about it. You're a comedian. Make that horrible thing I said funny.
Well, make that funny. Really
as a comedian, as a female in comedy, I do know I know a lot of desperate girls. Is that the same thing?
Ooh, there we go. Okay.
Thirst traps, things like that. We all do it, but it's a cause for desperation. Dan's
brought up something. You did now. Seriously.
Was that? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you just brought something up seriously. Almost you were joking, but you were serious. There are a lot of young women now, and you see it everywhere, who are educated, smart, right? So you can be educated, not smart. You can be smart and educated, right? But they're both educated and smart, and they are doing things like OnlyFans. They're doing thirst traps.
This is a perfect explanation. I in fact have an OnlyFans. But it was during the pandemic. My OnlyFans is very mild. It was not out of desperation. It was out of boredom. Stand-up was over. And it works. And I won't walk down, I'm engaged. I won't walk down the aisle with an OnlyFans because it comes with a negative connotation.
It does.
It just does.
True.
But I have no qualms about that. I mean, it's a very mild OnlyFans. It's not pornographic. It is what it is, but it's an accessory to my comedy. I know that there's a lot of female comedians who actually were at that time. It was during the pandemic, sort of desperate.
Yes.
And looking for something to do. That's not mine. I just do it sort of like I barely really post on there.
You figured out. I was trying to attack you personally, Keanu. I was trying to make.
No, I know. I believe me. I completely. I always try and tell people you can't do OnlyFans if you're like you have to know who you are and what you're willing to like show. It's the same thing as porn. Honestly, it's like a lot of young women get into porn and then they're like, well, it'll just be for a little while. I'll repent later and it'll all be fine. I needed $1.
Porn is forever. I'm not getting no judgment. You want to do porn, but just accept porn's forever, right? Once you put your body parts on the internet, they're not going away.
Yeah.
So it's
true, right? I come from the standpoint where like I'm just very like, you know what? We've seen Anne Hathaway's tits too. If a comedian wants to show her tits on the internet, we've seen that to me doesn't bug me, but it was always. I might want to see a little sexier of a photo of the comic that I liked or the chick on the podcast that I liked. So it was always an accessory to comedy or that. But the desperation with like, yes, the thirst traps and the, we'll do more and more and more, even when you're not comfortable with it.
I want to touch this piece because I do know women who do OnlyFans or things like that. And to your point, they thought it through. Like they were like, this is the right answer for me. I know that happens. I'm not trying to say every woman who has OnlyFans is desperate. I'm not trying to say that. But there has been an explosion of women who are desperate.
Yeah, no, that's the problem with it.
I need to pay my bills. I got a baby. I got this. This is the best way I can pay my bills. I don't want to work 2 jobs because then I can't see my kid. Right.
Right.
That's happening too. Right. Yes. And larger than it's been in the past. Again, you choose to do so. I'm okay with it. Understand it. Your boobs will be on the internet forever. Understand that. But it's fine. Right. You do you. But I don't like desperation. That's the part
that's the problem with OnlyFans.
Hold on, Dan, you're nodding your head. So you got something to say. I could tell. Go ahead.
I've got a number of things to say, and I'm just like trying to think about how usually I'm the host and I can just talk how much I want to, so I just go.
No. Jump in. Talk.
No. So to kind of pull into what we were talking about earlier and now what we're talking about, I think that, again, I want to make sure that we're widening out a lot of your thesis, Larry, because there's you had a framework of like, okay, we could be going into a place where you have both zealots or let's say like, radicals, and then you have drones, right? But you also have people who like really, they may end up on a side that makes them sound like a radical, honestly, because, tough times create radicals, like really radicalizing moments create radicals. But everything that everyone has said in this conversation so far doesn't sound like a drone. I mean, this is a conversation with folks who I think land on a lot of different places on the, political spectrum. And we're talking about, sexual liberation, the ability for people of all genders to be able to express themselves on the internet, ramifications notwithstanding. Like, I think like we're all talking about that, and like a lot of us sit on the side of like that's a freedom that folks should be able to have in this country. And I think it's very prescient because you're also speaking at a time where, you know, I think Alabama is restricting, you know, just this week or just last week, like, Alabama is restricting, you know, embryo fertilization and all the logistics with that. And
hold on, let me touch that real fast. Hold on, touch it real fast. You're right, they did. But if you look at every conservative Republican, they're all walking that back. Everyone's like, no, we didn't mean that. Like, we didn't mean that.
Because
they're backing it.
Because they, honestly, the conservatives have a much better hand than I wish. Again, I'm not the biggest Democratic supporter, but when things are distilled down between these two parties, I have to think, you know, strategically about which party I, as someone on the left, am able to actually threaten more. The Republicans won't listen to me. Some Democrats might. A lot of Democrats might, especially, I'm currently speaking from the East Coast, but I live on the West Coast. Either way, we have the option of, okay, I'm not voting Republican, I'm not voting Democrat, I'm voting peace and freedom, because that gives me access to the Party for Social Liberation candidates, or Cornel West, or a number of other independents who align much more with me
yesterday, by the way.
Senate. Wonderful, very interesting character. But like, I think to get more to, so there's definitely that main point where I want to make sure that folks know that yes, there are radicals, and yes, there are leaders, but also there are people who are being radicalized by these moments, and there's something in between. We're not just, you know, mindlessly following, right? We're doing research, we're doing information, we're trying to vet those sources, you know, to our best of abilities that we all can. And what we're getting to is a place where, you want to create an OnlyFans because like that's your situation, whether it's out of desperation or, you know, out of, you know, boredom or just like feeling liberating, wanting to do that. There's also on the other side, like, you know, something to talk about in society with like a deficit of intimacy. And so you have people who, especially during the pandemics, who are like, okay, I'm dishing what you're cooking, if that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I have this whole, you're feeling
let me touch that piece, Dan. Hold on. I love that it's off topic, but totally on topic.
Yeah.
And because you're right, if OnlyFans works because people pay, right? It doesn't work because nobody's watching, right? So somebody's watching, somebody's paying, which means, I think it's a valid point. This internet thing right here is part of it, because I'm not able to go out and give Keanu a hug. So now I got to put her on my show because I can't hug her.
Parasocial relationship.
So I put her on my show.
It's an internet hug. But the other thing is, you could put this podcast on OnlyFans, this live stream. You could live stream this on OnlyFans.
Yeah, but nobody would pay for it. But yes.
But it's a paywall. It's much like I could be cooking on OnlyFans or whatever. And mostly it's just, I always describe it as like a touch sexier than the photos on my Instagram.
You are trying to be good to OnlyFans. What you talking about right now is Patreon.
Yeah.
If I go on Patreon, I can do this. I do this on OnlyFans. I better not have a shirt on, or no one's gonna watch. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. No one's gonna watch.
I've always said I think everyone should start an OnlyFans, even because people would be like, Larry Sharpe, you started an OnlyFans. I have to see what's on that OnlyFans. Even if you're just sitting here doing this, they'll want to see it. It's an easy way to make a bit of money if you have a following, but you could be cooking or working out on there.
Speaking of making money, let me grab a super chat right now, if I could, since I'm supposed to be making money now. Hold on, let me see if I can get a super. Oh, wrong one. Hold on. Super chat. Chrissy says, Chrissy May is watching. She says, Larry, Keanu is a closeted libertarian. Can't wait for the gold pilling. Yes, I will get you one of these days, Keanu. I will. I will draw you to the dark side.
Saying it, I'm embarrassed because I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about. But I always go to Chrissy. I'm like, I think I'm a libertarian. I'm not sure, but I'm just like, I think every situation is. I don't see the world in black and white and like not.
You see it in gold.
Like I see we're all shades of gray. Every single situation, take people one-on-one, and just if you're not, as long as you're not hurting anybody, just live and let live. And
I will turn the entire world gold one of these days, slowly but surely. I'm working on Dan. One of these days, I'm gonna get him too. Just gotta keep working. So it's time. That's time. That's all.
We'll meet somewhere in the middle. Let's do that.
There we go. Yes.
So as a new libertarian, Gold is our color. Gold is the color of libertarians.
Gold is our color.
Gold like a medal. Yes. All right. I'm a libertarian.
And you don't have to know what you're talking about, Keanu, to be a libertarian. That's
most of us
common misconception. You really don't have to know it all. You could totally just call Chrissy and just be like, what do 100%. I say? And then it'll be totally fine. No one will.
Half the libertarians I know have no idea what they're talking about.
None.
At least half.
Zero, but that's okay.
No idea what they're talking about. None.
You know what?
I don't think that's to be fair, I don't think that's exclusive to any sort of political ideology.
Of course
not. Yes. Right. Absolutely. Heidi, go ahead. You had your hands up, please. I'm sorry.
I did. I had my hands up. What's the topic?
Yes, you did.
What are we talking about? OnlyFans? What are we talking about here?
Okay, I guess it wasn't that important after all.
We'll move away from it. Yes.
No, I was giving a hug. This wasn't my hands up.
Oh, that was the hug you were given.
You know the hug emoji, and it's the hands out, and we're like, yay, we're all giving each other.
Let me grab a couple comments if I could. Before I do that, in fact, since we're there, let me talk to my audience for a second. Guys, if you like this stuff, and I know you do, click the like button. Some of you have not been clicking the like button, and I'm taking that as a personal attack upon me. So please don't do that.
Don't
click
do that.
The like button. It does matter. If you're watching on Twitter, this goes out to 8 different platforms. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet it right now. It's important. Retweet it or repost it or re-exit, whatever is the word our Lord and Master Elon Musk is ordering us to do. He's one of our overlords now. So whatever he tells us to do that thing so we can get more people watching on X. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. It does matter. If you do want to support me, you can super chat like Chrissy did. Thank you, Chrissy, for 99. Appreciate that. You can also become a member if you want to. Click join. It's not OnlyFans, but it's YouTube. So I'm going to keep my shirt on for this one. When I start my OnlyFans, then the shirt comes off. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
I'll see if you're right, Keanu. I'll see if you're right.
Imagine just no matter what, this show shirtless. And then people would tune in.
The Sharpless Show. The Shirtless Show. There we go. That's what we call it. The Shirtless Show. So yes. No, guys, no matter what, follow these people. Follow Heidi on Heidi Briones. Follow Keanu at Keanu C. Thompson. And follow Dan on Dan from the Rodman on the web. But the thing to remember, though, is on the YouTube and on the Facebook show description, all the details are there. Grab their stuff, see what they're doing, check everything out. It does matter. So I did that just so you guys would understand that. So let me keep going if I could. If I could do this here real fast. I got a lot of people talking about other stuff. I want to try to stay on topic because people are jumping around. Dave says, both Trumplicans are becoming radical drones for Trump. Social media is responsible for part of this. There are others that are radical drones. Whatever anyone I like says, I agree with. What I think he's talking about here is, Dan was saying we do homework. I think that's true. But do we do homework in an echo chamber? Right? And if I'm doing homework in an echo chamber, then am I really doing homework? Right? If all I do is go to Larry and everyone who likes Larry, and it's just, then you're really just getting what Larry thinks. Right? So is it really homework? Or is it just, I feel like I'm doing homework, but I watched 3 shows on MSNBC, so now I know what I'm doing. Or I watched the lineup on Fox for three hours in a row, so I've done my homework. I don't think that's homework.
If you scroll through Twitter or whatever, what have you, if that's the only place, it's your algorithm. It's catered to you to agree with you. So
yes,
you would have to go outside of that. You can't just read the Epic Times. My betrothed reads it all the time, which I'm like,
oh, good God.
Please. No, really, honestly, Dan, I'm with you there. I'm like, I think that is just abhorrent.
Great marketing. Great marketing.
Yeah, I know. But
yes. That is true. They are marketing geniuses. Absolutely true. Yes,
they 100%. Are. Right.
Yes.
So you got to go to all the news sources if you really want to hear about something, or else you just scroll.
But my point, though, Keanu, you're right, and Dan's right. I don't think we do it right. I think I'm not saying that either of you is incorrect. You are correct. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, are we do? Look, my show is nowhere near as popular as many shows that just keep the same people on every single time, say the same things every goddamn day. I think, on a positive note, one of the things that made Joe Rogan so popular is he would have anybody on, right? When he was growing, when he was blowing up, he would have anybody on. And I think that was one of the things people liked about it. He would just have it didn't matter what you were, you'd have anybody on. That's one of the reasons why he exploded. But I think he was maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like he was the exception. Most people who grow were more like Daily Wire, right? In which case you get the same people on, saying the same things, and you're exploding, but you're saying the same things, right? And I think most are more like Daily Wire versus how Joe Rogan exploded.
Well, people just want to be entertained. I mean, it comes down to how you want to feel. people want to feel good and accepted, or like they're correct, or whatever feeling they're going for, they're going to search out. So that's what we're seeing. Is I think it started during the pandemic where, Keanu mentioned, hey, like, I'm bored. What am I going to do? There's all this stuff. Right. And then suddenly there was like, a deficit in content, and people started becoming creators and creating all this stuff to entertain everybody. And then people got addicted to that, right? They're like, well, I've got this cool little, group where we all talk about, this stuff and now I'm addicted to it. Now I need that dopamine and to log in and feel that entertainment, or to feel that acceptance, or to feel whatever it is. We're not, we live difficult lives right now. Most people are, stressed out. They have financial issues, a lot of stuff. They're not like, what I'm going to do when I get off work? Like, go challenge myself and go listen to, the opposite opinion and feel like garbage and feel like I'm wrong. That's probably not what they want to do.
I just spent 10 hours at some job I hate. So now what do I want to go do? Go punish myself some more, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, they like comedy. They like things like Keanu, or they like shows like Jimmy Dore that kind of bridge the gap between comedy, and politics. Or they're looking for, or whatever, Dave Smith and the Libertarians. They're looking for that kind of crossover to where they feel
and now the
good.
New Jon Stewart, right? They're looking for the crossover.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's entertainment. I don't think it's education for most people, unless you're a full-time activist. Then totally throw out what I said, because then that's your job and you're doing that all the time. But if it's a hobby, if it's something you do on your off time and you have a normal job, then you are not going to go seek out things that challenge you so easily, unless you have a reason to.
Makes sense. Let me grab a super chat if I could. Gino, I know Gino. I've seen him once or twice. Gino says, "Can you believe that cheapo Chrissy only gave me $99? He gave me $10. Yes, I can't believe that. Gino, thank you so much. Yes, that's correct.
He's sitting in our living room reading the Epic Times. That's my.
He's doing it right now. Yes, he's watching. He's reading the Epic Times, giving me some. Yes, he's doing it right now. Absolutely.
I love how Dan is like, oh.
I'm reading now, Gino. Yes. So, Gino, your move, sir. Your move. Yes. So cool. Yes.
Is this an auction? We're gonna just
It's an auction. Yeah. Yes. Maybe my shirt will come off in a while.
Not this month. No. Not this month. It is not an auction this month. All right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, not this month. Sorry. No, not this month. Wrong month for auctioning black men. Bad idea. Wrong month for that. You're correct. Wrong.
Well, Larry totally missed it. He would have let us do it, if Dan wasn't here. So you know.
That's why you got to bring the socialists on the show. That's
the reason. Yes. That's the reason. No. Absolutely. So Dan, you're the one who said that we should be doing homework, and Keanu agrees. But I think Heidi's got a point. Does someone have to your point, you're saying that life is tough. I agree. Heidi's saying life is tough. I agree. Does someone have the mental fortitude when they're done? They got their family, they got their friends, they got their job. Now they come here and do homework? I mean, are we asking too much of them? Maybe that's my question. Are you asking, I'm going to blame you, Dan. Are you asking too much of them?
I mean, like, yes and no.
Okay.
I've always viewed politics as like one of two things. If you want to, like, I compare it to a financial analyst because I come from that background. I'm like a recovering person from the financial sector, right?
Quit bragging. I'm just kidding.
I'm not smart. I just can Google Excel codes. So that's just my skill.
Again, quit bragging.
But I always say that, like, listen, usually finances are a lot for people to pay attention to, and it's good to have like an understanding knowledge, because you should know how your money works. But generally, if you're at that point where you have finances to worry about, you hire a guy, or you get an app, or like you do something for this. So for finances, we have this sort of like tacit understanding that, like, listen, it's good to get the 30,000 foot view, but the deep levels to like make this work for me, I'm not going to understand. So I'm going to hire, not to be gendered about it, but I'm going to hire a person. Okay.
Right. Sure.
Politics, and I think rightfully so, we want to make it as democratic as possible. We want to involve as many people as possible. Sure. We don't in America go the Australia route of like mandatory voting, but we do still have this sense. And what this gets to is a question about media literacy. This is like something I wrote down on my little, hotel notepad here. But like, we have an issue in America, I think more broadly, teaching media literacy, just because, media literacy, we weren't teaching it very well before the rise of the internet that I'm from, right? In the 2000s, et cetera. But we're especially not doing it right now with the rise of, platforms like TikTok, which analyze how many seconds you hesitate on a video and not just if you like it or share it, right? Like that's just a whole new level of like, you know, lowercase t Twitch sort of optimizing. And so to understand that, you know, yeah, we're being constantly fed these things. And so you have to understand, much like, you know, I think the New York Times does good journalism, but you also have to understand that they're the New York Times and their journalism goes through a certain kind of filter. And so if you understand that, just like you understand, at least for me, Al Jazeera does great journalism, but they're Qatari state media. And so if it has anything to do with something that could threaten the state media of Qatari, maybe don't trust that journalism as much. But, you know,
it's
treat
funny
the reporting
you
as
say
a whole.
something.
These are skills that people should really have. Yeah.
You know the I guess podcaster, or I don't know what you would call him, the personality Destiny, right?
Yes. Let me be careful. Yeah, Destiny, I have a lot of opinions about him, but yes,
it's fine. This is not an opinion about him. I'm just saying something that he said. I was actually on a show twice, and the thing that he said, which actually made sense to me, he said, if you really care about knowing what's going on, the most important thing is to read the entire story. That's what he said. And I was like, you know, that's as silly as that is. He says, if you go to like AP or something like that, and you just don't read the headline in the first paragraph, if you actually read the entire story, he says the details and the spin, you'll get it if you read to the bottom. Like you'll get where the spin is. It'll be obvious if you read the entire thing.
You have to get to the thesis statement.
Yes.
Don't they teach you that in school? It's at the end. It's the last line in the second paragraph. Oh God, I could.
Yes, and that's something as simple as that. I guess I'm going to your point, Dan. As simple as that, as just going, and I'm bringing him up because I'm going to give him credit for saying it. I hadn't thought of that until he said, I'm like, yeah, that will help tremendously. Because you're right. A lot of these guys do actual journalism.
That's asking a lot because 22% of people are illiterate in the US, period. Okay. Yes. So, I mean, it really is true. I mean, we have one of the lowest literacy rates in the world. So it's asking a lot for the average person to read an entire article. It's even asking a lot for them to read a headline or a tweet or a small post and understand. Just go to my, X feed and you'll see people misinterpret what I say all the time. And I write very, very short posts that should be very clear. So I think we have a literacy problem in general. So I think that, we need to go back to the ABCs before I think we try to have people, take maybe a class in politics and media or become, literate in understanding, sources and checking them. I think that people just can't comprehend things in general. And we have very low comprehension, and politicians, and bad actors manipulate that. I mean, if you listen to the speeches that are most effective in politics, I don't care if it's left, right, or center, the comprehension level is very low. You'll notice they repeat the same phrases over and over again. You'll notice they don't use anything over maybe like an 8th grade level, or if that. And this is on all sides. And that's how the people that end up getting more supporters, more drones, if you will, if we're staying on topic, or become radicalized, whatever it is, the goal. And so I think
that red meat.
Yeah, I just think we have a problem in general with people being, either they never got the literacy they needed when they were growing up, which is a huge problem. The kids currently are struggling to become literate. There were low standards maybe and now they're adults functioning. And again, they're tired, they're stressed, and, putting more information into their brain when they're, maybe struggling to just get up and go to their 9 to 5, and put food on the table is maybe a lot of Americans. So I think we just need to be aware of that like most people just want to feel good, be entertained, have a good time, agree with something, laugh. I mean, honestly, laughter is the number one thing that people ask for on X. I have a
all the time
account, but all they want are jokes. And that tells me that they're struggling, they're stressed out, they're angry, they're upset, and they want that little bit of relief.
All right. So what you're telling me, Heidi, is maybe I should think my shoulder, maybe I should drop trow instead. I got it. Okay, I see what you're saying.
If it's funny,
do something
I don't
different
know.
for different.
It might be funny, so maybe.
wait.
Absolutely.
Sorry, but like there's just like a bunch of great stuff you just said there, Heidi, and like I want to bring back to a point I had about. We were talking about Joe Rogan and like how he kind of got his appeal. I also kind of like want to point out on this point about media literacy that like Joe Rogan was the guy who did sitcoms in the 90s, and like
he's the host of Fear Factor.
Yeah, he hosted the Freak Show in the 2000s.
Yes.
Hold on, but boy, hold that thought. I'm gonna tell a quick story directly related to this. 2018, when I'm running for governor, my team is going out of their way to get me on Joe Rogan, right? Going out of their way to get me on Joe Rogan, right? So I get on Joe Rogan, right? And they tell me, hey, Larry, it's great news. You're going on Joe Rogan. Here is to your exact point, Dan, I thought, the Fear Factor guy? No, the Man Show guy? He wasn't a Man Show. I remember he wasn't a Man Show. I was like, the Man
Spike
Show
TV.
guy? Yeah, I didn't know his podcast was powerful. That's how gone I was. I was like, I'm going on a Man Show guy's thing?
Now
That's
all of a sudden he's Walter Cronkite. What
Yeah.
the Fear Factor host is Walter fucking Cronkite? When did this happen?
And so like,
Dan, I'm sorry. I just want to tell that story. Go. Sorry.
No. Everything you said is perfect from my point. And everything you just said, Keanu, was just perfect from my point. So like, we are talking about a media literacy issue, right? Where the guy who has, sometimes unfunny, sometimes very funny, comedians. I'm not going to say which is which, right? But that's generally was his thing. And then he would have some MMA guys on, and sometimes they would do like, fight companion episodes.
Right.
And then he started inviting on political people. Some of these political people I appreciated, like Cornel West, Kyle Kulinski, like a number of great folks from the left. I think are good representations of the left. And then for every like Kyle Kulinski or Cornel West, there'd be 5 Brett Weinsteins, Ben Shapiro's, Jordan Petersons, like folks who, people can have varied opinions about them, but I think largely, tack to the right, whether they want to admit it or not. And so
but
that
do you know why he
ends
does
up coloring.
that though, Dan?
Well, I mean, my thesis to not just why Joe Rogan does it, and I feel really confident in why that is, because I worked in media, I build companies, this is how this works. And the same thing, Mark Maron did at a similar time and track as Joe Rogan, is that you invite other, and honestly, exactly what Larry Sharpe is doing right now. You invite other people with other audiences onto your show, and you create a pipeline where some Larry people are going to check out me, some of my people are going to check out Keanu and Heidi, like et cetera, et cetera.
But Joe doesn't need to do that. Like Joe actually invites people on because he's curious about them and because he wants to know more, and that's why he has more people on the right come on, because Joe is a liberal. Joe is not a conservative.
No.
That's
I can strongly
true.
disagree with this.
I mean,
that's what he says. That doesn't make it true.
But he doesn't need to have anyone. Joe Rogan can have like Bob down the street on, and he'll get millions of views. So what?
But I'm talking about what was Joe Rogan doing? What did Joe Rogan do to build up to that point?
Because he wasn't trying to build it up. Go back and watch his old. He's just curious. He's literally just a curious dude. He wasn't. I want to be
clear about something here.
Yeah.
There's another piece here that I don't think either of you is getting here. There is a personal piece here, and I felt it when I ran for office in 2018. I went out of my way to try to give myself a diverse team. Right? Not by having quotas. And by the way, if any of you think it wasn't true, literally the media did a check of all the 5 people running, and mine is literally listed as the most diverse team. That's a fact. That is in paper and documented. And I found myself leaning further and further right. And I didn't know why. Luckily, I had people on my team who were left. And one of them told me, they were like, Larry, you seem to be like anti-left. I said, I'm not anti-left. I don't care either way. I'm a libertarian. It doesn't matter. They went, nah, man, look at what you're saying. Look at what you're doing. This is not real. And I was like, and I thought about it. And one of the guys on my team, his name is Paul. If he's listening, he knows. He's the guy who really opened my eyes. He was like, look at what you're doing, man. Look at what you just said. Look at how you're acting. And I was like, shit, you're right. And why was I doing that? And this is what happened to me. This is what I'm saying. It's a personal piece. When I ran for office in New York, all the left did was dismiss me. They were so dismissive of me. They gave me so much disdain and dismissiveness that I instinctively rebelled against them at an unconscious level. I didn't realize it. When I told him I wasn't anti-left, I honestly believed what I was saying, and I was wrong. But I believed it. Like, I wasn't lying to him. I believed I was not anti-left. I believed that. And I was wrong. When I went back and looked, I'm like, damn, you're right. Oh, I'm saying, I said that? Holy shit. Like, my campaign was leaning right. And it wasn't my intention at all. And it happened. And I think that happens to many people. And I think part of that's what happened to Joe Rogan. Cancel culture attack left hit him, and he rebelled against it and said, well, then I'll put my right people on because they'll come on. And if they'll come on, good. And we can yell about the bad lefties. It makes them feel good. There is a personal aspect to this. And I don't think Joe Rogan believes whether he is, again, I believed I wasn't, but I was. I don't think Joe Rogan believes he's right at all. I think, Heidi, you're right. I don't think he believes he's right. Does he do things that goes right? I think, Dan, you're right. He does. I don't think he believes it, though, because I was in that same spot. That's just my view. I'm going to bring that up. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but if you listen to the way he talks to people on the right or left, I feel like he offers challenges in the same manner. I don't feel like he's challenging either one less or more. I think he just has a deeper curiosity for things on the right because he lived in California and he was around lefties all the time. And he was like, wait, what? Why is this like Brett guy who used to be a lefty on the right now? Like, let me have him on. Let me hear what he has to say. He's just deeply curious. If you listen, I mean, he smokes J's while he's talking to these people. It's not like, like, he's like, yeah, bro, but what about this? I mean, like, you really think he's like, oh, I'm just trying to like move the country more right? I really don't think so. I think he's really just curious about why people have certain ideas and why they're trying to push them and why they change from left to right or right to left or whatever it is. And he has the weirdest people on you could imagine from all sides. And yes, maybe he has more conservatives on. Maybe they're also more willing to go on his show. I mean, you really don't know.
Yes, I find that too. I got to tell you, Dan, one of the reasons why I love you as much as I do, and I will say it openly, I do love you. I say that because a lot of left will not come on my show. I ask them constantly. I literally, and this is a true story, how I know I was with Cornel West. Libertarian Party of California did their convention last weekend. I went out and got Jill Stein and Cornel West to show up, and I didn't. Jill Stein got ill and couldn't make it, but she did say yes to it. Cornel West showed up. I did a debate with him. I moderated a debate, a forum with him and two libertarian candidates. We gave him respect and talked to him. Boy, was that hard. I tried to get Dela Cruz to show up. Won't talk to me. Dela Cruz will talk to me. I asked her. Will not respond. I've been asking Dela Cruz to give me some love for over a year. By the way, those of you who don't know, she's the socialist candidate. I've been trying to get her to give me some love for a year. Won't even respond. They won't. Now, I can't get my own local people here who are DSA members to respond. Now, I've had DSA members on my show before, right? Where I live in Queens, everyone who represents me is DSA. My city councilman is, my assemblyman is, and my congressperson is. They're all DSA. One showed up, the rest won't. And I didn't beat him up. I had a conversation about my local issues. That's all I did. So there's some part of what Heidi's saying is true, Dan. The left does not talk to us sometimes. They're much more dismissive, worrying about platforming. That is a left thing. Platforming is a left thing, not a right thing. The right loves to yell at you. They will bring you on and yell at you all day long. The left doesn't platform, though. Tell me I'm wrong, man. Come on.
Maybe the left won't go on Joe Rogan because they're afraid that he's going to make them eat bugs or jump out of planes. What do you think?
Maybe that's what it is.
Might be that. They're like, and then like, Republicans are like, I'll eat a bug. I don't give a fuck. It'll be cool, right? Yeah.
I mean, first of all, my experience with liberals is that I think that also be a lot of people on the left, especially, would be down to eat bugs. Like, there's a lot of people on the right. There's a lot of people on the right who are accusing people on the left of like, oh, it's the UN Agenda 21, and by 2030 we're all going to be eating insects, and that's going to be our protein. Like,
you're right. Yeah,
I think it's like very problematic and wrong, but also like. I went to college at Berkeley. I know a lot of people who would be totally down for the insect thing, like voluntarily. It's like, no,
it's just a fear factor joke. It was stupid, but I agree.
We needed the comedy relief. Thank you.
That was good. Yeah, right on point. I'm glad you're here. Nicely done.
And I love in the words of Donald Trump, if I can get the voice right. We've got a debate. That's what I love. I don't take this in any sort of like negative way. We're not going into personal attacks. I don't want to do that. 100%. We're not doing that. We're just talking about Joe Rogan, who I may or may not personally attack. But anyways,
of course, it's fair. We're not punching down, right? He's Joe Rogan. I mean, it's totally fair, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. There's no punching down with Joe Rogan.
No.
Yeah. And so forgive me. Like, there's a bunch of stuff I want to respond to, and so I want to make sure I
please.
A couple things.
Go.
Yes. Yep. So like, Heidi, the only thing I would caution with Joe Rogan, because I'm not saying this as someone who doesn't know Joe Rogan, right? Like, I think from 2016 to 2020, when I started seeing the shift for myself, I was listening to, they released 3 Joe Rogans a week, at least 2 of them, right? The MMA ones, I'll be honest, not my vibe, right? But a lot of times it was political people, a lot of times it was comedians. Like, it was, I agree, he had that curiosity. I also don't want you to not believe that someone like Joe Rogan, who has been in the media industry as a stand-up comic and as a star in the heyday of 90s TV, as someone who is on Fear Factor, as someone who has managers and agents, as someone who just double upped his deal with Spotify recently, that this is not a businessman. All right. So
of course,
he can, and you know what? I find that I am able to run my business and run my company while being very authentic to myself. I also find that there is a way for being very authentic to myself that is very marketable, and I can make some money off of it. It almost goes back to the OnlyFans thing, right? And so you've always got to just like, the same skepticism smart folks like all of us here have towards people in general. Just because we hear and listen that, Joe Rogan's just a curious guy and he just has people on because he has these perspectives, all right? Like, let's always read between the lines. Let's always look in that, like, lower ground thing. I'm not, and to be clear, there's another thing I want to like make clear, because again, to be kind, you said something, you implied that I was saying something that I definitely didn't, which is that Joe Rogan has some like secret plot to make America more right wing. No, I think
I did feel you were saying that. I did feel that. So you're not saying that.
Yeah. And so I did not, hopefully did not mean to intend that. I will also say that you have a lot of useful idiots out there. I think Tucker Carlson is like a more, conscious idiot as far as like what he is doing. He knows that he is like pushing forward a type of agenda that is helping certain things. I don't think Joe Rogan often does. I do know that Joe Rogan at this point realizes that he has a platform and a responsibility. And I with my massively smaller platform and responsibility, know that if I'm going to be having a political person on and they're going to be, massively influenced by my style and format of show where people believe I am just genuinely curious and asking questions and not just having a conservative on for the 6th time because I'm just like, chill with them and they're in my Rolodex. You shouldn't just have your producer, Jamie, Google some stuff, especially as we know, documented this year, how Google's algorithm is just as biased for search results as any other social media platform. We've got to also realize that like Joe Rogan needs to know that you've got not necessarily a responsibility, do what you want with your show, but you got to take some understanding for that. If you're going to interview a bunch of right wingers, then that's the opinion it's going to seem like you're having. And it's going to be less and less of a curiosity when you're like 1,500 plus episodes in. I stopped keeping track, but the curiosity thing stops being good when he listens to the same questions all the time.
I'm just curious. That's just silly.
The last very important thing.
I mean, to be clear, though, when I was saying curious,
hold on.
I just gotta say, like,
let him finish his last point. Let him finish his last point.
Last very important thing. I promise I'll be quick. Thank you all for giving me the time. There's a lot of points. I feel like I answered them very well.
No, go.
In my sleep, I can give you 5 leftists who will book you as soon as possible to debate you and talk on their shows. All right. Like if you
please do so tomorrow
and you can organize and do that. No, absolutely. All right. Because again, the type of left I come from, and make sure you're not like typify, like there's a part of people on the left who just like, prioritize things differently. There's a part of people on the left who have a certain view of platforming. And there's a part of people on the left who are sickos and perverts like myself, who cannot resist a debate, no matter how personally inconveniencing it is to my own life. All right. And so absolutely, folks in the chat have said, I think Larry Sharpe, you've been on the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. That man, yes, he will have you on again. Name a time.
No, he won't.
You're in Queens.
He will not. I have asked him more than once. I invited Sam Cedar for the. I know Villanova said this. Villanova, thank you for chatting. Thank you so much for your comments. But let me be very clear. I invited him to co-moderate a libertarian president's debate 3 times. Wouldn't respond. Wouldn't even respond. Once I was on a show, he never responded to me ever again. I invited him on my show. I said I'll come back on and talk about New York stuff. And I tried to be good. When I went on, I was talking about I was running for governor. I was talking about ballot access issues and that kind of stuff. And
listen,
it didn't work. He was not good to me. He has not responded to me. I put my hand back out to him.
To be fair, he's you know what? I will do this. I will hold, because again, Sam loves talking libertarians. Maybe he wasn't able to do a whole debate or like host a whole debate or whatever. Maybe for whatever reason, Sam's also a bit of a jackass sometimes. Whatever interaction you had with him, he felt like afterwards it wasn't worth his time. That being said, he loves debating a libertarian.
No, he doesn't. He loves eating up libertarians. He is a libertarian destroyer. Sam Seder eats up libertarians for lunch and breakfast. He didn't eat me up. That's why I can't go back. That's the reality.
Everyone has...
That's the reality. Sam eats up libertarians. He eats them up and spits them out. He didn't do, because I called him something important. I said, oh, Sam, you like Monopoly, don't you? And he didn't like that. And then I called him out on his healthcare. He was talking about healthcare for all. I said, you don't mean healthcare for all. You mean healthcare for y'all. You're still going to private doctors, aren't you? He goes, I go to private doctors. I know you do, because he lives in New York City. Sam's an elitist. That's the truth.
That doesn't...
And when I called him out on him being elite, he didn't like it. That's why he won't have me back. That's the truth.
Okay, so that... we don't have to get into that argument right now, because I haven't seen your debate with Sam Seder. And so...
That's the truth.
I don't know how he responds to that. I strongly disagree with your framing of the argument, but I don't think that's where we're going to take this today. So I'll just say I'll put it like this. All right. I have a lot of good connections to Sam Seder's show. You could call any day, anytime. He has a number, 646-257-3920. He takes calls all the time. He loves libertarians. And he spends an inordinate amount of time. Just don't be afraid to sometimes get like bubbles burst. I'm not saying this is what happened with you. I'm just saying that it could be a libertarian. It could be people on the left. We could be progressives. I've seen him do the same thing with people on the left. And I've seen other people respond back to him and make him start to reconsider things. So, you know, I think people like there's the perception of the left, like I don't love the framing of cancel culture. That's another conversation. But like there's the perception of the left that like we won't debate anyone. And then there's the other reality of the left that like we will mollywop anyone we debate with, because unlike a lot of people, like we do our research, we do our facts. I think
there is something else I want to bring up one more part, Dan, that a lot of people who are listening probably don't know.
Last point, I'll just say Taylor Lorenz and Chaya Reichek. That was an interview that just happened. Perfect example of this phenomenon. Taylor Lorenz actually sat down, started talking up to Chaya Reichek, lives of TikTok, someone who has, done a lot of things, let's say, that are very right wing. And when pressed on these things, all Chaya Reichek could do was hold up a video of oral sex on her iPhone to Taylor Lorenz. Like there were no arguments, there were no points. She's blocking people who are resharing the interview that she posted on her channel because it went that badly. I'm just saying, if you want to come for the left, please come correct, but don't say the left.
But I want to be clear on something though here. There is a difference between the left and liberals, and most people don't know that. They think lefts are liberals, and they think but that's not necessarily the case, right? The left, most people I know on the left actually hate Democrats. They're disappointed in Democrats, don't like Democrats. They're mad at them. They're far closer to Greens than they are Democrats. Most people who I know who are on the left. Liberals tend to be Democrats, and liberals tend to actually be much more about the establishment. They tend to do a lot more talk about things, but then don't actually do the things. So I think there is a difference between the two. Liberals often make the left look bad, terribly bad. I think that's a common thing. And I think Republicans do it with conservatives too. I think Republicans often make conservatives look bad, right? That's what they call them, rhinos. They make them look bad. Like Donald Trump is not a conservative, if that makes any sense, right? Mike Pence is a conservative, right? Donald Trump is not a conservative. They're different groups also. I think both of them kind of hurt each other in that regard. And I do think Sam Seder is much more of a leftist than he is a liberal. I think that, but I can't be sure. I don't know him that well. So I could be turning either way on that, but I feel like he's more of left than a liberal. That is my gut.
We can agree that he's a jackass. And so
he is that. He is that. That's true.
I absolutely stand by that. He's a jackass. And so, you know what? I will see what I can do behind the scenes. And at bare minimum, he will at least give me an answer as to why he doesn't want to give you an attention. So we'll see how that happens.
To be forward, I haven't reached out to him in a while. So I mentioned about a year. So he may have actually forgotten. I mean, I don't know if I may not be part of his work at all.
He's bad at getting the email also. So I think that there's a lot of stuff happening here. You should see how often we have to tell him, like, dude, the show has gone, and I mean, not we, but people I know who have worked there, and I consulted there for a month, not necessarily on the editorial side, but for their social media. So I know a lot about the inner workings of the place. But the number of times where not even someone as prominent as Larry Sharpe, but literally Jim Jablowski from Florida is on the phone calling into the unscripted, unscreened phone lines, and Sam Seder gets wound up into a thing for 30, 35 minutes. What you do see, actually, since we are on the conversation, is that Sam Seder is on Joe Rogan's do not book list.
Oh, is that right?
You'll see that Sam Seder is on Dennis Prager's do not book list. There are a bunch of conservatives who won't debate Sam Seder. And again, Larry, I don't think you're the kind of person who's like afraid of this kind of conversation. I think those people are afraid of this kind of conversation. And like, to the point about Joe Rogan, their curiosities stop at the certain point where like they would get rolled by the kind of person who Sam Seder's saying.
Wait a minute, wasn't Sam Seder on Rogan?
No. Sam Seder's quote for going on shows is, "I don't need to be invited back." And so that's why people hate him. He doesn't want to be invited back. He's like, if I'm going to be on the show, I'm going to make my point and I'm going to make it very strongly. And if I'm invited back, cool. But yeah, that's his thing. So I subscribe to that school of politics, but I also subscribe to maybe
I invited you back
too.
I invited you back. I don't know.
Yeah, because
anyway, Heidi, you've been giving me a face though. Heidi, you've been giving me a face.
I've been talking too much, Heidi. Please speak. Yes.
Not at all.
Heidi's mad at you.
No, I'm not mad. That's just my face.
you got angry face right now.
I always have angry face. That's you know.
Noted sexist, Larry. Next month is Women's History Month, Larry. So you're on thin ice right now.
So I got to attack her now. I can't do it next month.
1 month.
You can attack me any month. Women's History Month, Pride Month, Latino History Month, whatever month you want. Go for it.
It's all good. Kenneth says the indoctrination from both wings of the authoritarian shitbird, he calls it, is strong and produces a bunch of drones. Those of us who are of a different feather tend to be a touch more radical. I think even if we aren't radical, to Kenneth's point, I think we either feel or look radical because we're not, because I see this all the time, right? People, if I take a left-leaning stance or a right-leaning stance, right? People assume things of me immediately, right? I am 100% against the war on drugs. I talk about it all the time. It is horrible. It is racist. It's embarrassingly bad. It crushes people. And people go, "Oh, you're some goddamn liberal." I'm like, no, because I think the Second Amendment's awesome. Everybody should have guns. Oh, so now you're some crazy conservative. No, I just want people to be free, period. Let people have guns and drugs. It's fine. No worries. You can have both. Let's not put people in jail. Let's not make the state do that. So I think I get that a lot.
Is that why I'm a I think, we're all shades of gray here, right? We can do everything. Is that why I'm a libertarian now, Larry? Yes.
That's the reason.
You got to take every situation separately. So yes, go gold. I love it.
The old saying about libertarians is we want gay married couples to defend their marijuana plants with assault weapons.
I love
That's libertarians.
Absolutely. My brother's gay, and I'm going to tell him and his partner to say, you just
to defend their marijuana plants with assault weapons. That's libertarians. That's it. Yes, that's us.
That is 100%. Perfect. I love it. It's so kooky. It's so everywhere. It's just like whatever works
shirts.
Works. Yes. You
can get a shirt that says that. That's how common that saying is for us.
If you run again, I will be your running mate, and I'll be the woman. And
we have a rainbow flag that has the snake on it. And we call it the Gadsden flag. Literally, I've signed many of them.
It'll be a gold flag. Yes. It'll be like, you can have a gun and an OnlyFans. And
you can have both.
Marijuana and everything.
Yes.
Simultaneously.
Yes. Exactly. You get them all.
I love libertarians now.
See that? Right. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, again, there is a branch of the left called libertarian socialism. So that's why I'm saying, don't like group us up into one. You'll forget some good blocks you might be able to get to.
Yes. I have to grab a couple super chats, guys. I'm sorry. Gino is now winning. 2 cents up on Chrissy. Another $2. He is now winning now. Your move, Chrissy. Your move. And the anti-corporatist says, when are you going to make memberships, Dan? Dan, you're messing up, Dan. You need to get yourself some memberships. You're messing up now. Come on.
YouTube is messing me up. I am in that point where you have to wait for your stuff to get approved. And so I want to get it to happen around the time of my birthday. So I could be like, happy birthday to me. By the way, I'm a leap day baby. So my birthday comes around once every 4 years. So I'm really excited about this Thursday. But yes, one way to celebrate my birthday is if YouTube stops fucking me over, to join my membership at youtube.com/danfromtheinternet, twitch.tv/danfromtheweb, and then danfromtheinternet.net proper, to get all the content we do and to support not just a business model that backs democratic socialism, but like, a business that does that and promotes that out there. So really excited.
The Scientific Libertarian says, my OnlyFans account is just videos of me talking angrily about subjects while eating Cocoa Puffs. I suspect it will make about $10 this year.
I absolutely, if you wanted to, you could do it. You could do any of that. Yes. Libertarians in the bathtub. You could do, libertarians on the street. It doesn't, Whitney Cummings.
No. It's OnlyFans, bathtub. It's OnlyFans. Yeah. It's bathtub. I'm just saying.
Yeah, probably take a loss, I think, if you did that. Negative $10. You'd be like, the bathwater, my water bill put me over here, and now I made no profit.
Oh, give me till the end of the year. I'll have Larry Sharpe selling his bathwater and things. It'll be great.
I like that. My bathwater. Love. There we go. Yes.
Okay.
Utter bullspit says the problem is capitalism and the way this country is run. I don't get how that is why we're radicalized I see problems with the way the country's run, no question, right? Of course. I don't think anyone would disagree on that point, but I'm not sure how that is utter bullshit. You just wanted to yell at me? Is that what it was?
If I could, I'm happy to take up where
socialist is happy to talk about how capitalism is the problem.
Absolutely.
This is like a reality TV show. This is like the real.
And by the way,
Larry Sharpe,
Mr. Socialist, get please do my memberships next month.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no. Yes, this is exact. So, first of all, this is the greatest version of Family Squares ever. Second of all, you can try to practice socialism in ways where you do have power, but I can't convince my landlord to practice socialism, right? I can't convince individual things. You can fight for it, just like you can't convince people to practice the kind of libertarianism that you would like to see in the world just because you practice it yourself. It's like, oh, you're a libertarian, but you invest in stocks. You should be investing in gold only. Really? Like, really? Is that what you have a 401k and you're a libertarian? Like, I just think it's a BS argument, like, to be honest. Hassan Piker, I think, is a great example. Oh, you're a socialist, but you're a big Twitch streamer and you bought a house. It's like, yes, right. I live in a capitalist country, but I'm on Jeff Bezos's platform using his Prime memberships to talk about why his people should unionize. So you do what you do in the system.
Right. Leonardo DiCaprio takes private planes, I'm sure, and he's a huge,
he does,
eco-friendly. I mean, and I'm a layman, and that's the only thing I could come up with that would compare, right?
Yeah. On that point, socialists are allowed to use capitalism to promote socialism, and that would be like the only way that they could actually, if you look at like historical timeline. I mean, you'd have to exist under capitalism to even move towards socialism. That's
100% right.
So you have to.
But that's the whole argument, Heidi. If I understand the argument right, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Dan, the argument is socialism is the end game of capitalism. That's what happens, right? You go from some form of feudalism to capitalism. Some form of capitalism, and then to some form of socialism. I think that's the whole arc, what socialists tell me. Am I off on that, Dan?
Yeah, that is not just what socialists say. That is what a lot of, some call them moral philosophers, some call them political economists, some call them the fathers of capitalism, believe. And this is the school of thought that was part of the Renaissance period in France that birthed, the capitalism that we exist today. Like, a lot of them, were rabid capitalists. You can read Adam Smith and de Tocqueville and all those other different folks. You can read about, Malthusian ethics and things like that and get some really brutally capitalist things. And then you can read certain
what they won't tell you, though.
Like Marxism.
They won't tell you that, though. After socialism comes fascism. They won't tell you that. That's the
no.
Every time.
Communism.
Socialism,
literally every time.
Communism.
Like
not even which is fascism every time.
No.
There's left authoritarianism and right authoritarianism. Surely you believe.
Let me ask this question real fast. Can you tell me one socialist nation that didn't become fascist?
Can you tell me one capitalist nation that hasn't become murderous?
Can you tell me any nation has become murderous? Every nation's murderous. Every nation.
Okay. So again, we're back at the
Every
like
nation.
1 = 1 part of your conversation, right?
No, we're
like,
not. We're at social. I just said socialism becomes fascist. That wasn't one. I didn't even deny that capitalism becomes socialism. I didn't deny that.
And I just said
after socialism becomes fascist.
And I can say right now that every country currently, perpetuating violence in Gaza, violence in Ukraine, violence in the Congo are all capitalists.
Yes.
Right. So there's a lot of places to go here. Like there's violence going on by China right now. And I wouldn't really call them communists. I really call them capitalists. Like,
no, they're fascists.
I think this is a weird argument. So like,
okay, no. China is a fascist state.
Is America
China's a fascist state?
Is America a fascist state, Larry?
No, it's moving through.
Not yet. So can you put up the super chat that was originally like prompting this? That's why I wanted to like kind of buttress.
Was there a super chat for this? No, it was just a comment.
Maybe it wasn't a comment, but a comment or super chat that was like, capitalism is the root of all these problems. I think I kind of got it from there because.
Okay, yeah. Is it this one?
Yeah.
No, that's desperation. Wrong.
No, it was a different one from Utter Bullspit. But
there we go. Yeah, the problem is capitalism and the way the country's run. And what I said, I agree the country being run, but I think we have problems with capitalism no matter what. That's not going to change. Whether it was socialist or capitalism, I think we would still have problems how the country's run. That was my view.
I was thinking about this a lot serendipitously because I was on a flight today, and I was also listening to a podcast and an interview with an intellectual, like a scholar. The Joe Rogan experience.
You were listening to Joe Rogan.
I was listening to Joe Rogan. I was listening to Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, and Joey Diaz talking about planes, and it was a blast. Honestly, I wish. No, but I was listening to someone talking about the history of American aviation, and I'm not going to go into all that because that is a dry subject. I can see the live viewers going down already.
What a terrifying thing to listen to on a plane, by the way.
Yes, like I said, it was serendipitous, but it was a lot about how there have been moments in time and there have been instances where private airlines and public airlines are competing with each other. So the public airlines make sure that Podunk, Utah is connected to Chicago and it's done for a cheap price. And the private airlines make sure that the public airline doesn't provide you a crappy government experience. Like there's decent competition when you have a public-private situation.
These are literally my plans for when I ran for governor. Literally that. My idea was breaking the monopoly of government and adding options. And my example was, believe it or not, was the Postal Service. The Postal Service makes sure that a package will get to Barrow, Alaska, while FedEx would never go to Barrow, Alaska. Right. That was
let me tell Sam Cedar that you're a libertarian, that you talked to him before and you want to talk to him about the post office, and he'll have to change his pants. Like I'll be really surprised. I'll be very surprised if he does not
different strokes
answer this invitation. We'll be in touch. Okay. Like,
I love it.
That is the triangulation of all the things Sam Cedar loves: debating, libertarians, and the Postal Service. So we might be able to work there.
Good to go. Good to go.
No, but
my next job, producer for Sam Cedar.
Let me be really quickly. You'll be single-handedly hiring the cleaners for his pants, but like to bring it to everything we've been talking about, maybe related to that. OnlyFans, we were talking about, the deficit of opportunity and the deficit of intimacy. I think these things can be tied to capitalism. We're talking about media literacy and how it's only these, big news monopolies, these, elite old institutions that have this money and backing to be able to exist, even though we've kind of as a society realized we don't like them. And then these pseudo independent media organizations that are often backed by, new money. Again, a little shade to Joe Rogan, because that's Spotify's boy now. He used to be about that independent life. He is Spotify's boy now.
That's the darling of Spotify for sure, right?
And it's definitely a two-way relationship, but it's also a relationship where Joe Rogan gets in the 9 figures to continue that relationship. All right. So we have to dispel with the idea that Joe Rogan is independent media. Like just out of fact. It's alternative media. it's not mainstream media, but also it's mainstream media. He's the number one podcast out there.
It's not punk rock anymore. It's not like that, right? It's not punk rock. He's looking at the numbers, or his people are looking at the numbers.
And I just threw a lot of shade to Joe Rogan. Right. He is the number one podcast. People have that interest and people pay attention to him. And I think, some people see that as a blessing. Some people see that as a curse. That is a result of capitalism and the state that people are left in. The fact that people want to have Donald Trump in office because they remember getting $4,000, $1,000.
I've heard that
during the Trump administration. It's like
literally heard that.
People don't know that a Democrat or Republican, and by the way, that went through the House and Senate. So both Democrats and Republicans made that happen.
He was a registered Democrat and a reality star. Wasn't he? He was on a reality television.
He was big Hollywood.
Yes.
He was big Hollywood.
Just likes famous people. And the reason that even anybody people were like, oh, we love Trump. He's so funny. He's so entertaining. Yes. That's
and he is. I mean, that's still true. Like, I'm not voting for Trump. I never voted for Trump, but I got to give the man credit. He is entertaining.
He is
that's
entertaining.
True. There's no doubt. And if you say that he's not, you're just mad at him. That guy's
on election night when he was on election night in 2020, when he was about to admit that he lost, he was like, it was before the votes had closed and he was in Pennsylvania. And he was like, you know what? Regardless of what happens, whether I win or lose, I'm going to love all of you. And my kids, Eric and Don Jr. and Ivanka, they all work so hard. I'm still going to love them. Well, maybe not Eric, but you know what? I'm still gonna.
That's right. We get further with humor than we do with Leo.
He's funny.
He's hysterical.
If we could just lock Trump in Tyler Perry's little mock-up version of the White House that he has in Atlanta, and we all just convince him that he's the president again, No, you won the election, and these cameras here, anytime you want, Twitter and Truth Social, that's so blasé. Anytime you want to speak to the people, camera 1, camera 2, then camera 3. If you see that tally light on them, that's the one that's taking live. Just pop off, King. Go ahead.
Open up a Word document and tell him it's a blog, and then we'll just put it out to the people. We'll just
tell them those are executive orders.
If I could. Karen brings up a great point. She says the lack of intimacy and the rise of cancel culture incels, they're the same, is the direct result of political division. Now, I want to touch this piece. I think there's a piece of this that I'm getting and a piece that I think is maybe a little bit off here. And what I mean by that is, I don't think it's just cancel culture. I think it goes back to what you were saying, Keanu, up front. The lockdowns were far deadlier than we thought, because the lockdowns pushed us into a place. We were going there already, but they pushed us there so fast, so hard, we didn't know how to react. And all of a sudden, people were already getting lonely. It's not like we weren't on that trajectory. We were. But this just made us lonely as hell. And when that happens, we start going to our bubble. And now I see it. I'm sure you do. People are deciding what job they have based upon politics, who they're dating based upon politics, what family members they'll have over for Christmas or Thanksgiving because of politics. They're deciding all these things because of politics. And I think it's sad, because as you want connection, you should care less and less about someone's political background. You should just want a goddamn hug. I don't care if they like Biden or Trump or hate them both, or they like Cornel West. I don't give a shit. Give a guy a hug, right? I really think we should go there. But I think Karen's right. We're not.
No.
Karen, you're talking. Go ahead. Go.
No. You have to compartmentalize these things. Like my brother and his husband, soon to be husband, they're extremely liberal. I would say they're I think and listen, I'm a layman, but Dan, my brother has said, he's like, literally, I'm a socialist or whatever. My parents are from South Carolina. My parents are like, but it doesn't mean the same thing that it means to everybody. It doesn't have to have a negative connotation. So you have to compartmentalize it, and they do a great job of that, because they're going to stand up for our wedding. But okay, well, Bisconti is the man that reads the Epoch Times, all right? And I'm marrying him. Do I definitely do not. I disavow that paper, okay?
You are not just talking the talk, you are walking the walk. Nicely done.
I literally do not, right. So I can compartmentalize that and be in a relationship with him. Even though I just think it's ridiculous, I can just go like, well, I love him for other reasons. He bones good. He's sweet to me, you know, like things like things. Right.
These are
essentials.
Right.
Like on a Pokemon card, it's like boning 10, cooking 7, you know, like movie choice like 7,
right?
You know, like, political literacy 4. Like it's all a balance, right? But you know, it's like it's all good.
He's 24 years older than me. He's basically elderly. So like if he can't, I just hide the paper sometimes, and then he can't even find
he can't find it. Yeah,
that's good. Find it anyway. You can't. You just have to take people one-on-one. Just because we don't have the exact same beliefs, just because my brother and my his fiance don't have the exact same beliefs, compartmentalize it, put it away. We can all enjoy each other's company at a wedding. My brother and his boyfriend love Bisconti, and some would say he's very radical in his beliefs, but they still, you know, can have Thanksgiving with him, you know, and not bring that up. So I think that's important in life.
It is funny. I'm looking at a lot of comments from your chat, Dan. They do not think the lockdowns even happened. They're like, the lockdowns didn't happen. It never happened. They're like, they never happened.
Happened in where I was.
I don't know.
Portland.
I left New York. I went to South Carolina.
Following all the comments.
They're like it didn't happen. If you go to the right-hand side of where your screen is, you can see it says it gives you the option of putting comments there if you want to. Right-hand side of your screen here.
Oh no, that's an option you only have on. That's just an option you have as an admin of
I see
comments.
No, you should have it too.
I have it.
Look to the right-hand side.
I see the comments, but I can't.
Comments
like
are the
I
chat.
can't pin
That's
it. I can't pin it to the screen.
Oh, you can't pin it. Oh, God, they're just zipping down. Yes. Here's one.
You have to.
There weren't lockdowns, right? There weren't lockdowns. Actually saying that, right?
Sorry.
Well, I'm seeing someone else saying I'm still locked down.
Well, that person is ill. I think that person is ill. Boondocks. They said they were ill, so I think that person was ill. This person says no one locked down here if you masked, right? So they're saying that there didn't happen. I'm surprised that they would say that.
In other parts of the country, I went from New York because I said I'm not going. Right, I'm not going to do stand up on the subway. I'm just not going to do it. Right. I went to South Carolina for 4 months where they were locked down. Really, honestly, they closed the restaurants for 2 weeks, and then everybody was like, "Oh, let's all gather and hug." I mean, and I was happy to be there for that because what am I doing here in New York if I can't do stand? And we didn't know what was going on, but after a while, I'm like, oh, fuck this. It really changed everything.
100%. I don't know what they're talking about. I lived in New York City, and we were locked down. Like literally, could you physically go outside? Yes, but there was no place to go. You could sit outside if you wanted to, but literally, the restaurants were shut down for weeks. Churches were literally we had to go to Supreme Court to open up churches.
Yeah,
I'm not joking. New York City was locked down.
I'm sorry, but like New York City got to experience the rest of fucking America for like 2 weeks because like you go to the rest of America pre-COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, and that's what it's like. It's just like, oh wow, it's a Saturday afternoon and mostly everything is closed. Like, and again, like to your point, like
I guess that's a fair point. Yeah, but
but you couldn't even. No. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't drop your kids off at school for like weeks and months. I mean, it really was. It was a lockdown. It was.
What Keanu was saying, I think, is fair, which is that it was very regional. In that, what she was just describing about South Carolina was my experience in Los Angeles County during the exact same time. We had 2 weeks of things being like super locked down. There was like 2 days where like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't drive outside because like California Highway Patrol might pull you over or something. And then like California changed the laws so that liquor stores and bars could deliver alcohol. Like that was unheard of. All right. But That happened in California with the quickness, along with, restaurants not being open, but, restaurants doing deliveries and, Grubhub and DoorDash and all those other things had a different thing. So, yeah, things were a little bit closed. Also, most of America only has Walmart as a place to congregate and gather.
No, I agree.
All right.
No, but
let's be a little bit real here. It's just like
New York is a place where
I'm going to touch your point, Dan, if I could. If you go out to many places, I'll use New York State, and all I know really very well is New York. I know the country a little bit, but I know New York State very well. I cross the state all the time. I love my state. You're right. You go to certain places upstate outside of New York City, and it could be more open. However, most people in those towns work for one of three things. They either work for the one big thing, like the Walmart or the school or the one big, one factory that's in that small town, or they work for the government. They work for like the school system or the police system or the prison, something like that. Or they work for some form of franchise, right? Which is like, I don't know, they work for the McDonald's or the gas station, right? Which is usually a franchise. That's what they work for. Those three things in New York State, I don't know where other people are, all got shut down. Like you couldn't go to school. There was no place to go. With the exception of the prisons. Prisons stayed open. The exception of prisons. Everybody else in New York State, literally, you couldn't go to school. You could not go to. It was shut down. And then everything started closing down except for deliveries. So you couldn't go to a restaurant and sit down. That didn't exist. That happened afterwards. They started letting outside or whatever. But for several months, even though you can go eat, the reason why they love the checks, because you couldn't work. So the government sent you a check and you could spend it on takeout. That's how it was happening.
Now, again, and alcohol to drink alone.
And alcohol drink alone. And what has happened and she's not joking. If your people do their homework, alcoholism in women exploded during the pandemic. It did. It exploded to the point where now there are women in their 20s getting liver transplants. That's filled with booze. Are you kidding me?
Okay. And men also got OnlyFans. That exploded too,
OnlyFans too exploded. Yes. And lockdowns were a thing.
I think like a lot of that is true. Let's also note that for younger generations, especially people under 25, alcohol is under record lows. Athletic Brewing Company, the non-alcoholic beer company, is the #1 selling beer and at Whole Foods right now. And starting to become the #1 selling beer in America. So you're starting to see, almost a backlash to that, which
that's just because weed's legalized. Man, if weed wasn't legalized, it'd be a totally different story, bro. That's because young people like weed.
Somehow.
I think there's a lot of factors to that. I think a lot of people are also seeing like generationally, like, people like, oh, wow, alcohol is like kind of terrible actually.
Millennials like me, we drink to and then Gen Z looks at us like, ew, that's so gross. Like, why are you drinking?
You're right.
You're reminding us of the boomers.
Where's your facial routine? What is it? Sorry.
Ryan, who's a member, thank you, Ryan, for being a member. He says the lockdowns from the federal government in the state of Missouri were completely insane. Missouri, being a red state, is completely authoritarian, and the powers that be love taxes here in Missouri. So Ryan had a similar piece than I did. Right? Ryan had a similar example that I had. In certain areas, this was really a big deal for many people. By the way, Gino was very happy that he's good at the boning part, by the way. He's watching. So that's good. He's very happy about that. Yes.
I mean, I couldn't go to the gym in my own apartment complex, okay?
Yes.
That's my own apartment complex gym. It has like 2 treadmills or what. It was like tiny, and they're like, gosh, shut it down. Tell me that's not a lockdown. You're literally stuck in your apartment and you can't, use anything that you pay.
That's not the government.
Your rent at all?
That is the government. That was the state of Oregon. That's
correct.
The government doesn't run. The government doesn't run your apartment complex.
Let me tell you.
Yes,
but it's
yes, it does.
We weren't locked down. We were locked down. I mean, it was.
Yes.
My dad just retired.
My governor Cuomo, literally said and wanted to send police, and some sheriffs did this. You couldn't have more than 12 people in a gathering.
Right.
I'm not joking. You can do your homework. That happened in New York State.
No. I totally believe that happened. I also know, and there are similar things happening in California and Los Angeles. And I also know, because I grew up in the hood and I was near there at the time, that shit was still happening. I was laughing at I pulled Trevor Noah's black card because he did that performative growing an afro thing. When I'm like, if you was really black, if you were real American black, you would know that the barbershops and the liquor stores stayed open the entire time.
Oh yeah.
The hood is undefeated in this country. In all countries, the hood is undefeated. All right, you can get you a lineup any day, all day.
Yep.
They were the first, the barbershops were the first, and the beauty salons, the nail salons.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but for someone to say the lockdowns didn't exist, I mean, that's like, ask an educator. If the lockdowns happened, these kids are delayed.
I also disagree with your framing that a bunch of people in my audience are saying that the lockdowns didn't exist. I think that all we've proven here is that every people experience the lockdowns in different ways.
Here's another one. Our country did not have any kind of lockdown. I've just shown you 4 of them.
Okay, here's a point I'll make. Even just from my personal
there were not lockdowns.
From my personal,
when you compare it to other
my personal experience in South Carolina, I'll make this quick. This is so even there, even though I said yes, the restaurant stayed closed for 2 weeks or whatever, but like my dad owns or he retired, he sold it, thank God. My whole family, we own firework companies. 4th of July canceled. You couldn't in South Carolina gather outside at that time. A firework company can't run and it's like display fireworks. It's not like sparklers and things. So that part of industry blew up because people were going to gather anyway and shoot off their own dangerous ass fireworks. But like the fireworks that were for 4th of July, every single show, my dad would normally have on the East Coast, maybe 2,000 firework displays. They were down to maybe 800. Yeah. Cannot happen. And that's all along the East Coast because we weren't allowed to gather outside. People were canceling the shows because they were afraid. That's locking down. I mean,
okay, hold on. I'm going to try to be fair here. FG says, let me try to be fair. FG says, I want to be good. I want to be fair if I can. He says there were no restriction. No one was locked down. And I'm saying that there were restrictions. No one was locked down. I'm saying that from Nova Scotia. That is some of the highest restrictive regulations. Okay, to be clear, if this is just like a semantics, I'll play the semantics. I don't mind. If you're saying, am I saying people came in and locked you in your house like they did in China? That like China they actually did. They literally locked you in.
Right.
That's true. There were no lockdowns physically, correct? But you were quarantined. You were not supposed to go out. Things were shut down. Things were stopped. Now, to me, I equate that with the same as being locked down. But if you want to say the restrictions versus lockdown, okay, I'll play your game on that. But we're not supposed to be locked down, period, or have that kind of restrictions. To your point, Dan, the government's not supposed to tell me what I'm supposed to do. And just because the cops are afraid to come into the hood, that means the middle class get beat up only, not the hood. I mean, it doesn't matter. The hood gets beat up every day anyway. I mean, who cares? I grew up in the South Bronx. I know what you're talking about, right? I understand completely what you're talking about. Anyway, I wasn't trying to beat you up, Dan. That wasn't my point. I just was surprised how many people from your chat are like, never happened. I'm like, never happened. Wow.
No.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I mean, like one part, it does get to semantics.
They do their research, Larry. Okay, that's how they know that because they did the research.
No.
Now she's messing with your people, Dan. She's messing with your people.
But I'm just saying, it's about what we illustrate in this entire conversation through everything that we said, that there are different experiences. I mean, again, Keanu, you said that there were, rough numbers, 2,400 fireworks orders, and then it became 800. That's indicative of some places locking down, not all places. And it's not, like hood or whatever or not.
No, but, you're right.
This has now become again, I don't even want to take this
it's all semantics, right?
Yeah, but I agree it's a semantic argument.
It's definitely semantics, but just this is my perspective from the sheer fact of these are professional fireworks shows, 2,000 of them turning into 800, which is you can't really even. That's just diabolical. Like
devastate your business
for a business, right? Yeah. But then people are still gonna go and buy other fireworks and just shoot them off anyway, dangerously. They didn't do anything. You maybe don't want to call it locked down. Nobody locked us in our homes, but they stopped us from doing things. And I don't think that it was really maybe as necessary as we thought. That's all. That's all.
Let me just say this. Like, I can agree to that, but I am in this way a person about semantics and specifics. Let's remember who we're talking about, they, and let's also remember the context, right? Like
they, right?
They. We didn't know we didn't know a lot about COVID-19. During the first 2 weeks, like let's not forget, like one big delegitimizing point was they said that, oh, masks are bad, masks don't help at all, and then they turned around and said, oh no, actually masks are great, and we're running out of them. So it was and you know what? Honestly, that's just how science works. Like a thing is put out there and then peer review happens and you go, okay, no, that makes no sense. Let's fix it. That was very not amicable to 2020 when, the existence of a lot of different facts and logic in a lot of different contexts.
Hold on. I saw that face, Heidi. Go ahead. Come on, Heidi.
I mean, I'm still waiting.
Come on, I saw that face.
As far as science, I mean, didn't it just come out that ivermectin actually is a good therapy for COVID? I'm still waiting for an apology from 5,000 leftists who came at me for saying I said people should eat horse paste because I watch Joe Rogan. So, I mean, where do we end with the science? Like who has to peer review this stuff, and when does it end? And do we get apologies from the leftists who basically told us don't take ivermectin when now they're saying that that's actually a good therapy, or no, or is that okay? I mean, where exactly does this end? Because that's
who is saying it's a good therapy.
You have to have my betrothed on your show. You must, because you guys could go back and forth about this.
He's just gonna yell at me. He's gonna yell at me. I don't want him to yell at me.
In a good way. No, everything that you just said, he says to me all the time, Heidi. I'm like,
there we go.
I know you wanted to.
Absolutely, Citron says, okay. So why does this matter? Citron's not wrong. Citron's not wrong. Maybe
but part of me is also like, I don't really believe in relitigating this.
Yeah.
Like,
what are we going to do?
I'm not sure it does matter.
It may have been a misstep.
You know what?
But
this is my fault. I apologize. It's my fault. I was shocked by the number of people who have said lockdowns never happened. And I still disagree with that.
I disagree with that premise of the reading of the comments. I think, and I run a Twitch stream where I'm reacting to them all the time. I think different people were reacting to their perception of the pandemic. And I don't think, as we've talked about earlier in the show, Heidi, you made a good tongue-in-cheek joke about this, but this is actually correct. Media literacy is different for all people, right? And so everyone's doing their own research to their own standards, and that gets you in a lot of different places. I think it's a responsibility for people with a platform to broaden their perspectives, to make sure that when they're speaking with the knowledge that, okay, I have a good anecdotal basis in this, but I've also seen this in some other places. And so therefore that shapes my opinion, or, however that relates to whatever.
Just like Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan experience. That's totally what he does. Right?
Not at all like Joe Rogan.
Okay.
Not at all.
He's just furious.
Ryan was really affected by the pandemic a lot. Look, he says it. During the scamdemic, he calls it, and the BS lockdowns are the main reason for me becoming libertarian. Not everything was negative. So there are people who literally went through this and it turned them. It turned them into something else.
Now go for the gold. I don't know what I am, but
maybe but I think this affects.
Stay away from it all, Keanu. Stay gold. Stay gold.
I'm not.
Boy.
Yeah.
Just stay.
I think this affected people.
Stay perfect. Keep your hair. Just
I'm not doubting it affected people. I mean, again, we were just talking about the $1,000 checks and how that's gotten people going.
Yes,
that's a joke. First of all, people are. I mean, come on. People are joking around about that. I said the same thing. I made a post that said, "Yeah, I support Trump because I got a new Subaru. Like, what's better for a lesbian than a brand new Subaru in the middle of a pandemic? Like, come on, like, he's my dude now." I mean, like that. Those are jokes. Like, you got sometimes leftists don't understand humor, and I know because I was on the left almost my entire life, and it's sometimes things are just things people say. People just say stupid shit on the internet. Like, I'm sorry.
Humor heals us.
Well, I gotta say though, no, there are people who literally have said that.
No, like not just that, but there are people, let's say on the left, who saw the checks going out as an example of universal basic income. Not just people on the left, but libertarians. They were like, oh wow, that was a radicalizing moment for me. You mean the government can just do that? Like these sorts of things are radicalizing moments, and for some people it's the lockdowns were infringement on my freedoms, and so I am thinking about my freedoms more, and that's leading me towards libertarianism. And for some people, like, that was a moment of incredible economic opportunity where the government just gave up the game and not just gave people $1,000 checks. They gave like every scamster in America through like PPP loans. I mean, a lot of those were legitimate. A lot of those were bullshit. And while some people have been like, charged in federal court, most of those loans were just forgiven with very little interest. And we're in a very high interest rate environment.
I was very clear about this.
Right.
When that was happening,
and that's an argument against government. That's like a pro-libertarian argument.
But my point is, if you look at the idea of what happened during the lockdowns when it came to the checks being out, I was the one who said, and I still say that, if you're gonna hand out checks, if you're gonna do that, give it to the people. They didn't do that, to your point, Dan. They said, here's a little bit to the people, and here's a bunch to my corporate cronies. That's what actually happened.
And that's the same point Heidi's making too. I think we agree, actually.
Yes, 100%.
Well, I mean, if you include unemployment increase. The unemployment increase, the unemployment insurance increase during the pandemic. If you include that could be considered basic income.
I would buy that too. I'm not against
the earned income tax credit. The earned income tax credit for people with children, like that was an important thing, especially at a time when there's no school, but there are small daycares that are allowed to be happening with like small groups of people. So now you are taking a tax hit, and I don't love the way that we're doing. Okay, you get money off of your taxes for this thing that, not my favorite way of policy, but like that was a good thing along with all the other stuff we've talked about right now. So like these are beyond, again, Heidi, definitely great jokes, but they're also radicalizing moments for people in important economic ways that like truly I don't think we've gotten since then. I mean, again, I think Israel-Palestine has been radicalizing for people in an international politics way that I really enjoy. 100%. But as far as homegrown economics, people complain about gas prices regardless of the president, right? But COVID really taught people that there's economic opportunity in America, and often cases the government and special interests are directing it towards the exact wrong places.
That you brought up that piece, right? And this part I think is good and bad, and I'm going to bring this up. This goes back to our point of drones and radicals, right? And what I mean by this is you have had the left and libertarians actually hold hands on this Israel-Gaza thing. We are exactly holding hands on this. Neither one of us wants the bombing of Gaza. We are holding hands on this one, right? Often libertarians and leftists don't get along. True. This one, we are holding hands together.
On war, and sorry to interrupt, but like really quickly, on war, I think it's been the most remarkably consistent things. Like you look at Ron Paul's opinion on the Iraq war back in the 2000s. Yep. Ron Paul was a lot closer to Barbara Lee than any other Democrat or any other Republican.
100%. Well, I think in these pieces, we very often hold hands on that, and we are in this one too. Absolutely. But with that in mind, a lot of the people who were against the war didn't know why. And this goes to my drone piece, right? We felt like radicals because we were like, we're not supporting Israel this time. America always supports Israel. So clearly now we're radicals because we're not supporting Israel this time, right? So clearly we're all radicals. But there were a lot of people who just said, we don't like what Israel's doing because I think Israel's big and Gaza's small. And that was the reason. It was just like my guy said that.
Oppressor versus oppressed, just to be clear. It's oppressor versus oppressed.
Yes, oppressor versus oppressed.
Big, small, but okay, yeah.
Right, but I'm simplifying it on purpose, right?
Right.
And I think while I'm happy they took that mindset of we shouldn't be bombing Gaza, I'm happy that mindset was there. I think a lot of it came almost like drones. Oh, there he is.
Miles away from me.
That's my dude. Yeah. We're gonna do a show together where we just read the EPUB thing.
Yeah, he's a 10 on the bone scale. He has the permission, apparently.
God damn it. Yes, God, I can't wait to take him to hospice. I swear to God, it'll be.
Him and I are going to be chopping it up. We're going to be best friends.
That'll be a real lockdown. Then you have to really learn about lockdown.
By the way, Dan, Chrissy thinks you're good looking. Chrissy says, wow, you got Jonathan Majors. Good look. There we go. So you got a fan.
I'll take that as a birthday gift. Sure.
You got a fan.
Very much.
But am I right with this? Or maybe I shouldn't care. Am I thinking too deep? Should I just say I'm happy and just shut up? Or should I be concerned that maybe some people don't know why they're on my side on this one?
It doesn't matter because libertarians are anti-war. They're just anti-war. They have a different argument than the left has as far as Israel-Gaza, because Israel and Gaza is, yes, it's the oppressor versus the oppressed. And libertarians just don't look at things that way. They look at like war is just wrong and awful and principally wrong and bad in every single instance. That's just not the same framework. So you still agree with the issue and you can work together on that issue. And I think that's great. And I think that, anti-war activists should work together across the aisle and, all around. Whatever reason you have for being against something, I think that that's fine. You might have different frameworks from how you look at it and why it's wrong and why, your historical viewpoint on it. But I think that either way, what matters is like, are we able to work on single issues together still, even though we're tribal? And if we are, then I would argue we're not drones, right? Then I would argue that we do have the ability to think because we're able to separate that and be like, yeah, I don't necessarily, like you could be a socialist and be like, I don't agree with libertarians. I think that socialism is the right way, but you know what? They're right, on Palestine issue, and I'm going to go to a protest with them. There's going to be libertarians there, and we're all against this, and we'll all get together to stop it. And I think that that's great. And I think that if we do that, that's a good sign for whenever we do come out of the fourth turning and move into the first turning, which will be a period of optimism and working together and, prosperity. That's a good sign. So I think that even though people feel they need their tribe, they also need to find single issues that they can get excited about and work together with people in different tribes.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that completely. And I say it because I often try to find coalitions when I can, right? Because I realize that in my view, I would disagree with this, but in my view, the actual enemy isn't my fellow leftist, my fellow conservative, my fellow Republican Democrat. My actual enemy is the establishment, which right now is going out of its way to just trash us like there's no tomorrow. I see it constantly. I want to change the system. People got mad at me. I bring up Cornel West a couple of times, because people got mad at me when I was like, no, I'm happy to have Cornel West talk to him. I'm happy to have him. And people are like, well, he's a socialist, but are you a libertarian? And I was like, I don't care. He's third party. He's independent. And I do believe in, people might lie. I think I'm lying, but I believe it. I think his heart is in the right place. I think Dr. Cornel West's heart is in the right place. Whether I agree or not, I think his heart's in the right place. And there are issues where we agree completely. So why wouldn't I stand with him on the issues that I agree? And more than that, and people got upset when I said this, if there was 3 people on the ballot, Republican, Democrat, Cornel West, and I don't have a libertarian option, I'm voting West. I'm voting third party, independent thought, independent against the duopoly, against the establishment, regardless. I will always want a libertarian on the ballot, and I always try to have one because I am a libertarian. I don't hide that. I literally wear it on my goddamn shirt. So I'm clear on who I am. But I do know the system being broken is more important. And if we can't break the system, none of us win. And I had a bunch of people who are harder left support me because I did something, I had a policy. And for some of you may not know this, but people who are leftists care a lot about, not necessarily socialism, they do, but they care more about workers owning the means of production. That is a big part of many people know that. Yes, but that's not how people think of it. They think of it as government running everything, right? That's how people think of socialism.
That's how the right thinks of it. Okay, all right, go
Correct.
on. Okay.
That's why I'm being clear. I'm clarifying that, right? They think it's government running everything. But many leftists will tell you, no, it is them workers owning the means of production. So I said,
workplace democracy.
Correct. Yes. So I said, when I'm governor, I'm going to make sure that we actually have a public bank, which is not libertarian, but I agree with it because a public bank can support local businesses. And what I would do is say, you, as a public bank, you will not do what the current financial system does. The current financial system looks down on co-ops, does not want to finance them, thinks they're bad and won't work. But if you're a public bank, I would make it very simple. Your goal is to support all small businesses, co-ops or not. They're all equal. Do not discriminate when it comes to that. Second piece, if you're going to get any money from the government, whatever that money is, you're going to get unemployment, whatever. Say your bar is going under, you're all going to get fired, and I'm going to put you on unemployment. No worries. I will give you all your money up front, all of it. The public bank will match that, and you can buy the business. Let the owners buy the business. It's voluntary. This is voluntary socialism. You don't like it, don't do it. You don't want to do it, don't do it. No worries, but it's voluntary. Now, you would think that Democrats would say this. This is a simple policy. Democrats could create this tomorrow. But Democrats aren't leftists. Democrats are establishment. They would never do this. This was on my website for literally years. They could just take it. And I know they watched my website because when Kathy Hochul did her inaugural address, she used my talking points from my website. So I know her people read my website. I'm aware of this. So they could have taken that policy. They never did. So there are times when we can get together and connect. So someone who's a socialist might say, why would I vote for Larry? Because I'll give you something. You're going to get nothing with Democrats, nothing with Republicans. I will give you something. I will let you move forward in your own local way. With, to your point, Dan, I'm happy with workplace democracy. As long as it's voluntary, I don't care. Do it. Enjoy. Anyway, I yapped away, but I want to make sure, I wanted to say that because I think we can work together, Heidi. I think you're completely correct. I think we should be more open to working together because there are things we can be together on and actually work together and make things work. If we stop just going, you're the other team, I can't talk to you. We do that constantly.
Yep, totally agree.
There we go. Well, guys, let me talk to my audience if I could. If you like what you're seeing, please click that like button. If you thought what I said was smart, click the like button. If you thought what I said was dumb, click the goddamn like button. I don't care. Click the button. I don't care what you thought. Do it anyway. Button. If you think Dan is handsome, which he is, then click the like button. If you don't, click the goddamn like button. That's all I'm telling you. Click it. I don't care. Well, if you're watching on Twitter, please retweet it. Either way, subscribe if you can. Thank you all for the super chats. They are amazingly great. I do appreciate it. If you want me to keep going, become a member. Become what Dan will eventually become. He will one day get his damn membership up, and then you can become a member of him and me. He'll do it one day. But either way, before he does it, follow him on Twitter at Dan from the Web on Twitter. Follow Keanu at Keanu C. Thompson. Please follow Heidi at Heidi Briones. Great. All right. Make sure I covered everything. I think we're going to all of that. Dan, I think you wanted to say something. I saw you getting ready to talk.
No, because we had gotten to a really good thing with Israel-Palestine. And there's, again, like a mostly agreement that I have with both you, Larry, and you, Heidi, but just like a clarification thing is that one interesting experience I've had, on the left where, just as many of my arguments, the content that I've been creating on Power Report at youtube.com/Dan from the internet has been about criticizing, the right and the center, which have been really, really, to be clear, the Republican establishment and the Democratic Party establishment, which have been pretty much one and the same when it comes to this issue. We've also seen that there are contours within the left itself between who, in this kind of context, is a drone within the left, but is also a leader with a big platform versus who is rooted in what Heidi is saying, the characterization that a lot of leftists see things as a power dynamic. I have a show called Power Report. This is how I see things. But honestly, the thing that makes me feel rooted in the part of the left I feel rooted in is both the power dynamic that is very clearly there with Israel and Palestine, but also a peace dynamic. The fact that the same reason that I differed from a lot of people on the left and still do about, continuing to aid Ukraine without conditions on working towards some peace negotiation with Russia are the same reasons why I'm like, I don't want the United States to be aiding Israel unconditionally. And, if we are aiding Israel, that aid needs to be conditioned on not perpetuating at bare minimum ethnic cleansing, routine systemic ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. And in the entire Hezbollah, propaganda campaign that goes around that, right? So that's just the only thing I would add to that. That's just the only thing I would add to that is just like make sure that please don't mischaracterize the left as, oh, the reason we agree with libertarians is because it happens to be that we see things in just power dynamics and libertarians just see things as anti-war. No, a big thing about democracy now, which I think is more, left than libertarian, is being anti-war. And Amy Goodman signs on that show by saying the War and Peace Report. Yep. All right. So
yes, just to be clear, frame her arguments. I mean, a libertarian would be like zero foreign aid. They wouldn't say, well, no foreign aid, but like not in perpetuity or like only foreign aid. No, they'd be like zero foreign aid.
Well, to be clear, Amy Goodman. Well, to be clear, Amy Goodman and not me on my show are saying like, condition aid. Like I think condition aid is like the bare minimum thing a politician would do. What I would say is, a lot more radical. I think a lot more aligned to you, which is fuck them all. We're not giving any money while we still have unhoused people on our streets in the United States.
Right.
I would agree with that completely. There's something else that I think about,
as long as there's unhoused people in the United States. no one's going to really say that as a libertarian. I'm just saying they're not.
I think libertarians say that. It depends if they're an activist
as long
or a
as they're
candidate,
unhoused. Right? I mean, maybe it depends what kind of libertarian you're talking about, but yeah. I mean,
yes, are they running for office?
What kind of leftist you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly, right. And my point being, yesterday at the
completely different though.
Yesterday at the event, Lars Mapstead was on the same stage as Dr. Cornel West, him talking about war and such. And his comment was, if we're going to fund something, let's fund peace, not fund war. Now, he's a libertarian. Now, to your point, he should be saying fund nothing. But the reality of it is, we're going to write checks. So if we're going to write checks, let's do it to fund peace or not write checks. Yeah. But right now, we're going to write checks. Like, we're not going to stop foreign aid tomorrow, right? So if we're not going to stop foreign aid, let's be practical and fund peace. Versus, to your point, Dan, okay, we'll give you the money if you're going to sign a peace treaty. You're not getting any money, right? You get the money if you start the peace. You start the peace, you get the money. You don't start the peace, you don't get the money. At least that to me is, as you said, that's bare minimum. We got to be doing at least that. Then hopefully we can stop the whole damn thing. So I do think it depends on who's talking.
And it's working within the political reality that we have right now, that like the morally just and logical thing is to not give them a dime, but that's not going to take with Democrats, Republicans, or, organizations like AIPAC who can knock them all out one by one. So what you can at least say is like, we will give you conditional aid for defensive things like the Iron Dome, but we're not going to fund anything offensive. We're not going to do any more rockets. You're gonna, if you want this aid, you have to let UNRWA and Red Crescent continue to do the work that they're trying to do in there, instead of doing, double taps and triple taps on ambulances trying to, provide aid to people who have all innocent civilians, not Hamas, as someone said in the comment section, your comment section, Larry, but I'm not going to make a comment about your entire audience.
Don't make a comment.
You can beat people up. If I beat yours up, you can beat mine up.
I don't think that's representative of your entire audience. That's just one guy. That's that's my critique here. But I'm saying those are the conditions I was saying. If you're getting aid, Israel, and I would also maybe apply this to Ukraine, it's on a defensive basis only. It's to defend yourself, not to go on the offensive. Because Ukraine, they were starting to launch drones and do drone attacks into Russia. We were specifically oh no, we don't want to start making it look like the United States is funding an invasion of Russia.
So that's the problem. Is how are you going to control what they do with the aid?
Very easily, Uncle Donald. Very easy, like Uncle Donald Trump said, we fund the whole bitch. Right? We fund the whole bitch. Right?
Did he actually say that?
Basically, he said, "Oh, NATO, all these other countries are like, we're not paying the NATO bills. Other countries we're not going to pay NATO our bills. We're not going to pay NATO our bills." It's like, okay, well, United States not going to either, and you're all going to go broke. All right, make it so United States okay, you know what? We're not funding Israel anymore. Okay, you're going to rely on fucking Britain and France to pay for that Iron Dome, buddy? Thanks for playing. No.
Let me grab a couple of these if I could. I know a lot. There were so many guys. I'm going to say thank you so much for all the comments. Your people comment a lot. They are much more active than mine. I like it. It's great. Yes, this is great.
Go through.
Hold on. We just got here. Which of these people should I follow and input the trust? Me.
None.
I am the one you should believe. No matter what I say, I am always right 100%, no matter what. So yes, it would be me. Just to make sure.
This is one of my viewers. Be cautious of everyone.
Don't follow me.
But he goes on and he says, making sure we don't forget that libertarians do not want to help the unhoused. The reality of it is, I was the only governor candidate who actually had a plan to assist the unhoused, both in the public area and private. Both. I was the only one. I actually have policies that would actually help the unhoused. So that is incorrect. There are some libertarians who are in academia who would say they can go to hell. That's true. But those who run, no. In fact, if you look at if they had adopted my plan in New York City, we would have less homeless in New York City right now. That's a fact.
I do agree. The fact there's some libertarians that even subscribe to a theory against that as an indictment of the ideology. But invite me back on again. Well, I'm happy to discuss this again.
I speak for me, not Philippe. Actually, Bob, I speak for me. That's what I'm telling you. So but you're right. There are libertarians who would say that is accurate. There are some who would. That would not be me. That's all I'm saying. That would not be me.
We're all guys, please pray, right?
I want to go back to comments before I go there. Please, Keanu, tell us, what are you doing? Where should we find you? What's going on?
Keanu Cast is live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and sometimes Saturday. I do a cooking stream if you like to watch an idiot cook with an elderly man that reads the Epoch Times. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can find me on YouTube at Keanu C. Thompson for Keanu Cast. And then follow me on all the socials. And if OnlyFans is your thing, you could follow me there too. You can do that as well. Yes.
There we go. Dan, tell us what you're doing. Where can we find you?
danfromtheinternet.net is all the things. Right now it's flagging as a weird link, but just go ahead and go there. It has all the links to everything I'm doing. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitch. I have Power Report where I talk about politics most Thursdays, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. I have Audio Face where I don't talk about politics and we just talk about new music that comes out every week. It's kind of like it's like a culture slot machine. Every 3 weeks every week we listen to one popular album, one like comeback album, and one really obscure album, and we just like figure out how we feel about them. And then pop culture and politics happens sometimes, but I don't have to be Dan from the internet. I can just kind of be chill and curious about it. So that's Audio Face, but I do a lot of different things. There's a membership platform behind that. I'm gonna have a membership platform for the Power Report stuff soon. So it's complicated. I'm on a lot of different platforms: X, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky. danfromtheinter.net is where you can just find all of that in one place. So
there we go.
Check you out there. Yes. And again, thank you. We're
not done yet. I do this before we end so people don't quit and then not hear us say the good things. So say the good things, then we keep going. Otherwise they quit before that when they hear the good things. Heidi, tell us all the cool things you're doing.
You could just find me on X, honestly. I mean, I really don't have anything else to say, but you can
easy.
find my stuff there. If you like it, great. If you don't, cool. I mean, I'll block you and then we'll all have a great day.
And that'll be it. Everyone's blocked. Block party happening. Oh, good. The Pitchfork Dragon says, let's be extremely fair to libertarians. Oh, thank you, Pitchforks Dragon. When they switched parties, they didn't sign up for the right becoming authoritarian. I'm not sure what he meant.
That's funny because the left's way more authoritarian than the right currently, but okay.
Well, let me cover two of those pieces if I could. Most people think that libertarians switch parties from Republicans. That's what most people think.
Oh, do they?
In reality, that's actually not true.
So funny.
It's demonstrably not true. Do we get them faster from the right? That's true, but they go back faster. What you find
there's
funny
a lot
about
of libertarians that people follow online that are Republicans. They're just straight up registered Republicans. I wouldn't say that it goes the other way very often. There's not a ton of
100%
big time libertarians that are secretly like Democrats. Like it just doesn't go that way.
And that is a problem that we have as a branding. People look at libertarians and go, oh, libertarians, libertarians like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is not a libertarian. Not even close to one, but people will say that. I heard that more than once. Well, he's libertarian. No, he's not. He's conservative. He's not a libertarian. I hear that. So that's true. We do have a branding problem, which is why a lot of people think they come from Republicans to libertarians. The reality
Howard
of it is
Stern ran as a libertarian.
Howard Stern is not a libertarian. Correct.
Yes. Now he is completely, absolutely.
Bob Barr is not a libertarian, right? They are not. These people are not libertarians. But again, we have a branding problem. If people think that's our problem, right? We have to fix that. I'm hoping more people see me. I am an actual libertarian, right? I am actual libertarian.
Too, Larry.
And there we go. And you have joined me. Slowly but surely we will take over the world. It'll take about 500 years, but slowly but surely we'll do it. Damn it!
Libertarians of OnlyFans. That's what our platform will be.
We have a branding problem, but here's the reality: people come to us from the left slower. That's true. But every libertarian who came to us from the left never leaves. They are our most aggressive, forward. You're nodding your head because they are our best activists. Not even close.
Yep.
And they never leave us. When they come from the right, some Republican is kind of libertarian. They run back.
Yeah.
When they come from the left, they never run back.
You know why? Because it's the social issues and the culture stuff. It's that.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's that I'm gay and I can be gay as a libertarian, and that's totally cool. If I go try to be a gay Republican, it gets really weird. Really quick. I mean, yeah, it's possible. Also, you can do it, but it's just a lot more awkward.
And something else is weird. If you're a Democrat, right? And I don't know about leftists, but if you're a Democrat and you're gay or any part of the LGBT or the GSM community, the gender and sexual minority community, you're often like spotlighted and fetishized almost like that.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
But libertarians, we don't give
care.
a shit.
They're like, whatever.
Anybody, come on in. We don't care.
We don't care. We don't care either way.
Like 2009, 2010, before it was cool, my IT chief, who for my company, was a trans woman. Nobody cared. I gave her a hug, and people were like, she used to be a dude. I was like, I don't care. Whatever. I didn't care. I didn't say it. I didn't tell people. It was just true. And then when they came through for my 2018 run, my policy chief was trans. I didn't say anything. I didn't tell people that because I didn't give a shit. I didn't care.
That's the one thing about Trump. I remember him saying, well, what would you do if, formerly Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner used the bathroom and he was like, I don't care where she uses the bathroom.
We had the shirts that said, you can pee next to me. Remember that?
Yeah, go
Libertarians had the shirt that said, you can pee next to me, because we didn't care who peed next to us.
I couldn't care less. Whatever works for you is great. That's why 100%. I just like, that's wonderful. Wonderful. As long as you're not hurting anyone, who cares?
Yes.
Right.
So I'm sorry. I yapped away again. Go ahead, Dan. You were writing some stuff down. You ready to yell at me?
No. It's all good. I hate to take this moment of real good understanding and just like bring some like unwarranted animosity. But no, I just like I had more.
He's gonna say something untoward. I love it.
Well, no. One of your chats said, "I'm sure Larry told me you didn't care." I did not. I said nothing. It only came up when people attacked me and said, "You're this, you're that." Then I told that person that. But the individual who was on my team, I never mentioned it at all, ever. I only say it when people attack me. Then I say it. I never mention it otherwise. So that would be incorrect. Colt dog. There we go. So yes.
Yeah, so. No. Definitely. Like, I also am not the biggest like Joe Biden supporter in any situation, but I think one of his best like.
I don't think Joe Biden is the biggest Joe Biden supporter. I don't even think he can think anymore. So,
but like one of the better like half dimension moments he had was when someone tried to corner him and ask him, "Hey Joe, how many genders are there?" And he was like, "I don't know, man, at least 3." And he just like moved away and just like went to the next question.
He's like, "I don't know, man. At least 3.
Yes.
19 not 11 to 12. Yeah.
I like
all right.
That.
Well,
you got a fan, Keanu. Looks like Teddy Cool is gonna follow you.
Hell yeah, man. Watch.
You got at least one. Got at least one. Oh no, and you got Mike too. Nailed it. Yep, you got a couple fans.
Love
You're winning, Keanu. You're winning.
Shocking.
I like it.
Completely shocking.
Yes. She says she seems
I can't believe the guys like Keanu. This is so
I'm very living that thing.
It's true. All good. I love it. It's amazing. So yes, absolutely. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for coming tonight. For everyone who watched, thank you so much for watching. Please watch more. Please follow these awesome people on Twitter. Follow Heidi at Heidi Briones. She probably will not block you, but she might. But probably won't. She probably won't. You can follow Keanu at Keanu C. Thompson.
Better behave.
Yes. And you can find my comedy dates on my Twitter and Instagram too, as well.
Yes, absolutely. All that stuff. Please do that. And before you leave, please hit like. And I will ask one more thing now. Once this show is over, do me a favor. Head back onto whatever you're watching it and put a comment. Right after it's over, go back and put a comment. The Al Gore rhythms like that very much. So please do that if you would. I would appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much.
Get back there.
Yes, and I will be on my radio show tomorrow. For those of you who care, live radio call in tomorrow, WYSL 105 Eastern. I will see